M. Night Shyamalan is back and the movie doesn't suck? What's the deal? Hi, this is Jeff Tucker for What's the Deal Movie Reviews. Just a bit of a warning, this is going to be a spoiler edition, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, you might pause this video, go out and watch the movie, and come back and finish the review. Today we'll be reviewing Split by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, like a lot of people, I was skeptical going in. His last 5 or 6 movies have been pretty rough to watch. Lady in the Water, and then that really weird movie with Mark Wahlberg where the trees in the air attack people. Now, I don't want to jump right to my conclusion, but I think it's safe to say that M. Night Shyamalan is back. So the star of this movie is James McAvoy. Recently, he's done a lot of the X-Men movies. I think the best movie I've seen him in so far before this movie was Wanted. And just right off the bat, I have to say, James McAvoy did an excellent job. He really showed a lot of depth in this movie. Early on in the movie, James McAvoy showed his ability to play two different characters almost simultaneously. I've known some crazy people in my life, and let me tell you something, James McAvoy plays off a very convincing crazy person. There's some parts in the movie where he's flipping between his multiple characters, and he switches between one and the other in mid-scene, and it's not just a facial expression. You can almost see the gears in his mind churn. He literally goes from being one person to the next. It's very, very convincing, and I think just a really excellent job in acting. The co-star in this movie is Anya Taylor-Joy, not quite as well known as James McAvoy. She played in Morgan and The Witch, but in this film, she definitely turns in a solid performance. Plays a really good angsty teenager, kind of a bit of an outsider. So the movie starts off with 3 teenage girls being kidnapped by one of James McAvoy's personalities. When they come to, they're in kind of a makeshift cell room. And then just right off the bat, James McAvoy starts going through his iteration of characters. They do a really great job of kind of doing a stage left character switch, and he'll come back, 20 seconds later dressed as a different person with a completely different personality. After they've established the circumstances for the prisoners, they move into the only other setting in this movie, and that's a Dr. Karen Fletcher's office, played by Betty Buckley. So really what she's doing is she's actually a psychologist that is treating James McAvoy's character. But not only is she treating him, but she's trying to prove that the sickness that he has, DID, or dissociative identity disorder, is actually a real thing. Kind of on the fringe of psychological science right now, but a really good plot point. Eventually, James McAvoy turns into this 24th personality, the Beast, and this is where some people kind of had some issues with it. He becomes super kind of roided out. He has the ability to kind of super strength, and he doesn't really feel pain, and he kind of goes insane and starts bending metal bars, and eventually gets into a showdown with Anya Taylor-Joy's character, who ends up with a shotgun, and she shoots him a couple times, and while he's visibly injured, doesn't really seem to slow him down much. It all comes to a head when James McAvoy's character sees all the scars that Anya Taylor-Joy's character has from the physical abuse, and then it becomes the twist that people thought they were maybe waiting for, or they thought that M. Night Shyamalan was going to introduce, was a twist that James McAvoy character wasn't actually just trying to consume people or be a murderous beast. He was actually looking for people like him who had adapted to their situations, and he feels like through Anya Taylor-Joy's character, he's kind of found somebody else. So eventually he decides not to kill her, runs off, hides from the authorities. Eventually a zookeeper comes down, and this is where Anya Taylor-Joy's character has been the entire time, is in the basement of a zoo, kind of calls the authorities. So the authorities show up. They find the other 2 dead teenage girls that the Beast has killed, and they have basically called Anya Taylor-Joy's legal guardian, which happens to still be her uncle. And so the scene kind of ends with a female police officer walking up and telling her that her uncle's here to pick her up. And then the 2 of them share a bit of a surreal moment, and you can kind of feel that the police officer understands that she doesn't feel safe going with her uncle. They don't expand on the story there, but you think maybe there's more to it. And they do a bit of a wrap-up scene. Kind of, you feel like it's maybe just an atypical, oh, we're listening to a broadcast, and they'll kind of recap everything that's happened. And so it's a bunch of people in a diner that they're halfway stuck in between eating their food, and they're watching a TV screen, and it's kind of depicting all the things of James McAvoy's doing, and they even call him the Horde. They kind of give a name. And then two people kind of have a conversation and they start to say, hey, what happened to that guy that was in the wheelchair they put in the same asylum that broke all those bones? And it cuts over to Bruce Willis playing his character from Unbreakable, and he's like, yeah, Mr. Glass, and I fucking lost my shit. They are going to do a Unbreakable tie-in, and this movie went from pretty good to great. I wouldn't think that a simple movie tie-in could elevate the status of a movie so much, but it did. And, I felt like I was one of the only people in the theater to really appreciate the tie-in, but let me tell you, knowing that they're going to expand on the universe that Bruce Willis played in Unbreakable, it made me giddy, to be completely honest with you. I think a lot of people thought that maybe the twist in the movie, that M. Night Shyamalan was trying to redeem himself, and so they made the twist in the movie that, she had adapted from the sexual abuse and all that. No. The twist was the fact that this was all happening in the same universe as Unbreakable, and nobody saw it coming. Great job in redeeming yourself for all those crap movies you've made in the last 6 or 7 years, M. Night Shyamalan. Awesome. So I'm going to give the movie 4.5 stars out of 5. I thought that it looked great visually. There wasn't a lot of variety in scenes, so there wasn't any really ability to show off any crazy cinematography. But for what it did, I thought it looked good visually. The acting with James McAvoy, I think this is probably going to go down so far as his best acting performance as of yet. Anya Taylor-Joy was also very good at playing that angsty young teenager that's kind of an outcast. And a lot of people seem to have had a problem with the supernatural abilities of James McAvoy's 24th personality, the Beast. Honestly, it didn't really bother me that much. I can see that if you didn't like the fact that 3/4 of the movie was a psychological thriller, and then it kind of turned it supernatural with the James McAvoy's 24th personality being able to bend steel and not being affected by shotgun blasts at point blank range. But it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so what were you expecting? Then of course you have the twist of the fact that it's all happening in the Unbreakable universe, which, by the way, if you haven't seen Unbreakable, I highly recommend it. And I also recommend this movie too. I thought it was great. I saw it in the theater, really enjoyable. So that's my review of Split, starring James McAvoy. What did you guys think? Was the 24th personality of James McAvoy a little bit over the top with its supernatural abilities, or was it spot on? What did you think about the twist at the end? Has M. Night Shyamalan totally redeemed himself? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the review and you want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm Jeff Tucker. This has been What's the Deal Movie Reviews. Thanks for watching.